Okay. So the agenda for the regular meeting of council on Monday, May 25th, 2015. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, can I have approval of the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Coulson, seconded by Councillor Savage. Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. May the 11th, 2015 special council meeting minutes. As presented by Councillor Coulson, or are you recommending a change?
No, I have an item for change. On page 4, under announcement of closed council meeting motions, the first item there was a recorded vote for that, which Mayor Hain, Councillor Coulson, and Councillor Hain were in favor, and Councillor Savage and Scott were opposed. So requested the minutes be updated to capture the recorded vote.
Okay. Any other changes to the May 11th special meeting?
Just a question to staff, Mr. Marway, that was their understanding of the process. Was that your understanding of the meeting?
The process for release of information from the closed meeting happens at the closed meeting, so I'm not necessarily in a position to comment on what was in the minutes, but the motion was to release the motion. We don't usually release movers, seconders, counts, anything like that. If council at their closed meeting later tonight wish to amend their motion from that closed meeting where they did the release, that would be usually when it would happen.
So, a newbie question then. So when I've seen the recorded votes from other motions that have been released from in camera, there's been 2 steps of action, and one to release the motion and one to release the results, if it's a recorded vote?
I can't recall off the top of my head any motions being released and closed.
I've seen it on several occasions going back over the years.
Yeah. It may have been that they put a absolute in the motion during the close. They put in quotes what they wanted released, what you wanted released.
Okay.
So, just for clarification, would it require then, as part of the motion, to release the motion itself and the voting?
Yes.
Okay.
There's times where the province has advised that the nature of the vote is part of the deliberation, and so it's often not released. But that's something you can discuss it in camera. So on each occasion, at each closed meeting, just for the public's knowledge too, council has an item on every agenda where they consider what they would like to release from the closed meeting. And then that gets brought forward and put into the open portion. So the, like I said, I'm slippery ground here, but I'm not allowed to discuss what you discussed in a closed meeting, but I understood the motion was to release the motions, and those were the motions. The vote is not considered the motion.
Yeah, just based on what I'd seen in the past, I assumed it was part and parcel. If the motion was released, the results of any vote with it are released.
Rarely. It's rather a moot question, because it's the only time the motion is released is if it's passed by a majority, and council as a body owns the motion. So it's rather moot who moved it, who seconded it, what the vote was. The importance is that the body passed it, the body owns it, the body released it. And we just record that.
Okay. So, basically just was not including that in the minutes.
Yeah. Need to be more thorough next time. Got it.
Okay. So, anything to amend then on the special meeting Monday, May 11th? So, do we have a motion to accept as presented then? Thank you, Councillor Savage, seconded by Councillor Hain. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. So the May the 11th regular council meeting minutes as presented. A motion to approve?
Move the minutes adopted.
And Councillor Savage. Seconded by Councillor Coulson. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, presentations, delegations, and petitions. Mr. Holland, with respect to the Foothills Neighborhood Development.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. I'm here to present the report from the public meeting that we held on April 21st. As you know, we requested this in February that the Foothills project come and be presented to the community for its latest update, and also to seek input from the community on a draft MOU, which has been signed by the previous council and our company earlier. So we were very much in support of that, and thank you for calling it. It was a good meeting. There has been a very long time without public input. We had found water from the previous developer. There had not been water found until then. It was very close, and that, of course, changed some of the context. They had hired a new team, including myself and some others, and so we wanted to get started on this conversation. We booked April 21st at the Legion, working with your staff and some of yourselves, giving us some advice to make sure that the meeting would be appropriate. We notified the community. We had notices that went out in the news bulletin, and we were covered by radio as well as the Nanaimo Daily News on a couple of occasions. We had a mail drop in every home in Lansdale. We put up posters around town. There was a lot of email and word of mouth work. We put up signs on the property. It went up on several websites as well to make sure that everybody had a chance to get it. The meeting, as you know, was structured into two pieces. The first was an open house. Not everyone can stay and come in the evenings. If you have children or if you're elderly and choose to go to sleep earlier, then that is not something that usually works. So 4 to 7, we were there with the whole consulting team. We had about 40 boards. We had a handout with a sign-in sheet. We had food and drink, and basically we're there. And folks started arriving before 4 o'clock. It was a very prompt and early start. From 7 to 9, a town hall meeting, expertly facilitated by your worship, where we did a presentation and had about 90 minutes of Q&A, and our whole team was there. A number of issues came up. Water was, of course, very high on the priority list, since that's something that was part of the meeting and also had not been part of the process on this project until now. The questions on water dealt with drilling, dealt with drawdown of water tables, dealt with what happens if you don't find enough, and quite a few things like that. I won't summarize all the results. All the results and Q&A from that are in the report that we gave you. I've also included in the appendices a copy of all the boards that were displayed, so you can look at those. The handout that was given out. I've also included the sign-in sheet, so of everybody who came, and also photocopies of all the comment cards that we got, as well as a list of folks who were interested in being part of our task force. It was about 170 people who signed in. Given that some of them were couples with just one line and a bunch of people didn't sign in, we expect there was over 200 people there, which was significantly almost 3 times what was expected. So we're very grateful that so many people came out. And I thank the community for coming, for all those who came. It was an evening of dedication. I've given you copies of the feedback forms. I think also a copy of the Diversity of Housing Board. We asked what types of housing. And there was very much a general trend down towards smaller and more affordable homes in the very large estates that had originally been envisioned. We've got at least 14 people who signed up for the task force. We've already been in contact with them. We've gotten already great feedback from them. They're heavy users of the site or neighbors nearby. And we hope to start meetings with that group within the next month or so. We're busy in a small team with a couple of other things. On traffic, that was another key concern that was raised, primarily and understandably by the people who live on Hall Square and Park in that particular area. We were very clear that traffic impacts will be there. They happen. They start with construction and move forward, and we've committed to go and meet with all of our neighbors and talk with them about the impacts, how it will affect them, and what we can do to help mitigate that. We won't be using a video for traffic again next month. We just confused the matter more. But trying to make it look simple, but there we go. Discussion on the park dedication. We reiterated our full commitment to the full 900 acres of park, and we'd like to move forward on that sooner than later through the subdivision process. We've also committed to people using the site and safety right now, so the task force was part of that. We've cleaned up all the roads for emergency access, working with the fire chief right in the last couple of weeks, and we're starting the last phase of it, which is right in the front right now, in the first phase 1/2. That should be done within the week. We've also reached out to a website developer that we know from our background who specializes in parks and trails websites. And we'd like to help support Lansdale in its production of a website of all your parks and trails, including ours, if you're so interested, and you'd be interested in meeting with the Parks and Rec Committee to talk about what we can do. We don't want to set up a road site. We'd like to integrate it into your site if that's what you wish. Overall, we're very grateful for the meeting. We think it was a large success just because so many people came out. We got a lot of good feedback, a lot of good advice, and we're very grateful to be able to move forward on that one. Right now, we're in the process of moving the entrance for people to use the site off the Tavender's property down to the end of Harwood. So we have equipment there right now that's going to be adjusting that berm and opening that up. We'll probably put some bollards in so that it's much more free to come and go. You don't have to clamber over rocks or around things, and that should be, but it'll still keep the 4x4s out. We're finishing up the road upgrades. We'll get the task force going. We'll begin meetings with our neighbors on traffic issues, even though the impacts will still be probably many, many months away, but we want to get started on that right now. And we will hope to come and talk with yourselves and your staff very soon about moving forward on a phase 1 in this process, so that we can trigger our paying for the reservoir later this year for water supply, and we can also get on closer to getting the park dedicated. That covers everything that I wanted to cover, and I'm happy to answer questions or whatever you wish.
Questions, comments from council? Councilor Haynes?
Just a comment. I do want to thank you for coming and doing the town hall meeting. The feedback I've received has been really positive, just from the opportunity to have two-way dialogue and to have some input. And I think most people still think there's still a ways to go on this process, and there's some hurdles to deal with. But at least now there's the conversation, and that's a huge thing. It's just being asked to be at the table. And I think that's wonderful. Thank you for doing that.
Further comments, questions from council? The issues raised, the water and the traffic side of things. Certainly within the audience, my feeling was some doubt with regards to ability to deal with those sorts of things. Specifically the traffic side. Any ideas how to deal with the volume of traffic that would theoretically be expected? And one other thing that was raised was also concern about construction traffic. Any thoughts on that?
Our goal is to open up, certainly we'd be using the Vipond access. Now that impacts a few other people, but there's many fewer individuals on that area, and they tend to have much significant larger land masses around them because it's a larger rural property environment. We expect to use that entrance for some of the construction traffic, particularly maybe some of the heavier dump trucks, and especially as we move inland. Mm-hmm. Our goal is also, we haven't had time to look at some of the other access opportunities yet. Pretty hard to make phantom work. It kind of comes in at the base of a big hill into a gravel pit, so I think it would be difficult, but we will look at that. There's also maybe a few other easements that we could actually acquire and move traffic in. Like I said in the meeting, traffic is going to be there and there will be impacts, and it will start with construction. Construction is jobs, construction is money, construction is that kind of process, and it's going to happen. What we can do is work with each of the individuals because they're impacted differently. Each home is impacted a little differently, and talk with them about what we can do to help mitigate that. And we've set aside some budget for that, so I'm hoping to be able to go work with the community there, with our neighbors, and see what we can do to mitigate that.
Okay. And then the other thing was the water side. One comment that I've been hearing is the concern about water, not just from the standpoint of regular aspects, but the dryness of this year, lack of snowpack, etc. When was the initial pump test done on those wells, on that well?
The well, okay, I don't know the exact date on our current production well when it was done. It was done in the fall of last year, I believe. Okay. I'm not sure exactly which month it was. I believe that's when it was done. We're out there right now. I'm expecting a report on a second well. They just pump tested for 72 hours, so okay. I'm hoping that'll come through today. I was hoping through this morning, so I have a report on that as well, but it didn't come through yet, so hopefully that'll be imminent. We've allocated nearly $500,000 this year to drilling and testing, so they're out there going to be looking for more water, so we're hoping that can happen. With respect to the fire mitigation, that was why the first thing we did this year was to go and clean up the roads. And so I've taken my truck, my 4x4, and I've driven almost all those roads. So we know we can get around smoothly. I believe Bob was with us, has taken his own vehicle on all of them as well. So we're sure that it's a very convenient, and that includes right up to Lanceville Lookout and Copley. We did that whole road, so it's much smoother to get up there since that's where they had to use it. So we're also going to be highlighting that there are water pools that have been created over the years during the logging and other uses. So we're going to map all of those and get the names. We want to name the roads. We're going to get all of that organized, working with the fire chief, so they can get there fast. They'll know where the water is when they get there, and we're hoping that that's a big step towards. It's much better than it was last year in terms of being able to fight back any fires up there.
Okay. Councillor Coulson.
November 2014, beginning of November was when the pump test was done.
Thank you.
Great. Any further from council? Hearing none. There is a detailed report in here, so we could just have a motion to receive the report. Councillor Savage, seconded by Councillor Hain. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Next item is correspondence. There's 4 separate items of correspondence. Separately together, Councillor Swill. How about if we go with the first one, treat it separately? First one, Policy and Programs Officer, 2015 Asset Management Planning Program, grant approval and terms and conditions.
Move receipt.
Receipt by Councillor Hain, seconded by Councillor Savage. Discussion?
No.
All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Derek Corrigan regarding BC Housing Nonprofit Asset Transfer Program for information.
Move receipt.
Councillor Hain, seconded by Councillor Coulson. Discussion? None. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Jace Schlosser, Inspector of Municipalities, recent resignations of senior staff and 2 members of council for information.
Move receipt.
Councillor Hain, seconded by Councillor Savage. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. And Councillor Dave Scott's letter of resignation from District Laswell, effective immediately from May the 19th, 2015.
Move receipt.
Councillor Hain, seconded by Councillor Savage. Discussion? Councillor Savage.
Yeah, I think that is received with regret, significant regret in my opinion. I think we should send a letter to Councillor Scott recognizing his significant attempts to resolve some of the issues that we were dealing with. I think Mr. Scott went above and beyond the call of duty, and I think it should be recognized.
Is that a second?
Sure.
Okay. So,
Sure.
so
Is that to amend it? There's a motion on the floor to receive it, and it says it to amend it and further send the
how about if we
letter.
deal with the motion to receive and then the action?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything further on the motion to receive? Councillor Hain?
Just also to thank David Scott for his time here. Would have been nice if it was a little longer, but that's okay. It was a pleasure to work with him, and hopefully we'll continue to see him involved in the community.
Okay. Anything further on the motion to receive? Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Councillor Savage?
So are you okay with the motion to?
Send
Well, that's
letter.
all right.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I'd like to propose that we send a letter to Councillor David Scott, recognizing his efforts in trying to address some of the issues that, some of the challenges that Council were trying to deal with over the last month or so.
And seconded by Councillor Hain. Discussion? None. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Mayor and Council verbal updates. Councillor Hain.
Okay, I have 4 things. First off, I don't know if anyone's been noticing the groups of people out in the community doing the broom busting. They're coming to an end. I just want to thank them for all their hard work. They take that on every year to try and get rid of the broom in the community, and it is a big task. And I just want to send them a thank you for all their hard efforts. Secondly, we've commenced the Minetown Day planning for this year. The event's going to be on September the 12th. We're looking forward to an excellent event. It's going to be in Huddlestone Park again, and we're hoping, fingers crossed, that it'll be generator free. Not to put staff on the spot, but it would make a huge difference to the event, and it'll make it a great day for everyone. And then lastly, even though there's only 4 of us here, I think we can carry on doing the business of council. And I've had some residents approach me with a few little amenities that we could do that really would not take a lot of effort, but would make a big difference in the community. So I would like to move that we direct staff to put into place 2 bike racks, one here and one at Coston Hall. The site to be determined by the Director of Public Works. and that we buy and put out front a garbage can so that residents walking along the road will have somewhere to finally put their garbage. These are simple things, and I move that they come out of the council discretionary budget.
Who's seconder for that?
Second that.
Councillor Coulson. Discussion. Councillor Haynes.
Very brief. These items have been in the OCP since 2005, so they're not big issues. I don't think they would cost $1,000 in total, but I think they make a big difference to people who ride their bikes and people who talk about there's nowhere to put garbage. So I think they're simple little things that we can move forward with. We don't have to wait to do these things.
Okay, further discussion. Councillor Savage.
Yeah, I believe this is premature, and the reason for my comment, as council are aware and the public are aware, we've been through the Village Core Initiative, which is a planning process. We had a business and resident community to go over the Village Core planning as directed from the OCP. And part of that report, the final report, includes some interim, low-cost improvements that could be done in the village core to improve the atmosphere, accessibility, landscaping, bike. There's a whole bunch of issues, and I think it would be better, in my opinion, to look at all those suggested improvements, and then council decide which one they're going to select, as opposed to, just picking these two particular items. So I think it's premature.
Okay, further discussion. Councillor Coulson.
Yeah, I like it. It's easy. It's cheap by the sounds of it, and the Village Core. I do like the statements Councillor Savage made, but we haven't received the first phase of that yet, and there's more to come. So we don't know where that's going to end up. So let's tackle some of the low-hanging fruit and get it done. I'll be supportive.
Further discussion. Question to staff. Any idea of cost of something like that? Any ballpark?
I haven't done any research on it, honestly.
Okay. Recognizing, and I appreciate the idea that it may be cheap. A bench, for example, is $2,500 for somebody to purchase a memorial bench, recognizing the cost of installation, et cetera, and maintenance, granted, over the longer term. I think if I had a number in front of me, I'd be more comfortable with it. Certainly the idea of the garbage can, functionally, to me, appears to be much easier. Whereas stuff like the bike racks and that, location, cost, and that sort of thing are my concerns. Councillor Haynes?
So what if we put a dollar amount on it, and if staff say it can come in under that dollar amount, then we go forward with it. So let's say if we can do it for $3,000 or less, we move forward with it. Because it's never going to change.
Further comment?
Well, again, if we're going to spend $3,000 or $5,000, my preference would be to look at the recommendations of the Village Core Committee when it comes forward to council, and then prioritize some of those issues and then move forward if that's council's wish.
From my standpoint, recognizing time-wise and things like that, there's another meeting on June the 8th. I'd be more comfortable with direction to staff to come up with the cost of the items, just so that then we know, for example, what would be coming out of the discretionary fund in terms of establishing it. Like I said, I have no problem with the garbage can aspect, but bike rack, location, etc., logistics are, in my mind, a little more difficult than just the location of the garbage can. Councillor Haynes.
Okay, so can I amend my motion to direct or ask staff to come back with a costing for the June 8th meeting?
I would prefer, recognizing the change of that motion, that we defeat the motion as it stands, or we withdraw it,
Okay.
and then make a follow-up motion.
Okay, I'll withdraw it.
Seconded? You okay with withdrawal of the original motion? Okay.
Okay.
Councillor Haynes.
So I move that we ask staff to get us a cost of 2 bike racks, an installation, and a garbage can for the June, and a location for the bike racks for the June 8th council meeting.
Do we have a second for that? Second discussion. Question to staff, is that possible time frame wise? Any further discussion?
Just for the minute taker, so for clarity, it's council asked staff to provide a report on June 8th on cost and location for installing 2 bike racks and 1 garbage can.
Yeah. Location-wise, cost and hall, and district hall for the bike racks, and
Yeah.
district hall for the garbage can, I believe is what she said.
With the final.
Yes. Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Anything further, Councillor Hain?
No, that's it. Thank you.
For myself today, I spent the day actually at the Tumut Treaty Name Table in Victoria. The News First Nations has, along with the rest of the group that makes up the Tumut group, signed an agreement in principle April the 9th. Today was the first main table meeting with regards to the idea of moving forward to a final treaty. Interesting discussions overall, interesting to watch the relationships. I'd attended these things a number of years ago. Some of the individuals have changed, some of the individuals are still there. But there's some real hope with regards to getting to final treaty within a relatively short period of time, recognizing that these talks have been going on for decades. Now they're talking in terms of a year, in terms of coming up to a final aspect. It does affect our neighbors, so I would encourage council in going forward for us to increase the meetings with the News First Nations, as there are some challenges with regards to, considerations with regards to mutual servicing of properties and other potential effects. So, like I said, spent all day down there, and looking around the room, I figured out of the 20-odd people that were there were probably 2 that weren't being paid to be there, myself and another individual. So it's amazing what the cost of the process is. Councillor Coulson.
This is what you were at a month or so ago.
Yeah, a month ago it was the signing of the agreement in principle.
Yeah.
Mostly ceremonial, speeches by feds, provincial, the 5 First Nations bands or chiefs, as well as some of the elders and the youth as well. But this was getting down to more of the actual negotiation side again.
Right.
Yeah. Councillor Coulson.
Given that Lanceville's taken up more than its fair share of space in the Help Wanted section these days, I'd like to say a few words about the confusion being expressed to me by a great deal of the residents I've spoke with. I apologize, I wrote all this down because there's lots of legalese in it. So for what it's worth, I consider myself to be on the outer edge of the inner circle in all this, and I too am confused. I believe a great deal of it is simply due to a lack of publicly available information. It's immensely troubling to me as a representative to residents, and I take it as a personal failure not being able to help minimize this confusion that's being expressed. Now, I would like to say there are elements at work that limit just what council can do to disclose information. I don't say that as an excuse, but simply as an explanation. As an example, I'd like to consider staff resignations. Council is not able to release letters of staff resignation. The Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act prevents council from doing so. There's a section in FIPA that says disclosure to the public or personal information is presumed to be an unreasonable invasion of a third party's personal privacy, and if the personal information relates to employment or employment history. So personal information is further defined in the Act as any record about an identifiable individual. So in short, council does not have the legal authority to override this body of law. There is an interesting provision in the Act, however, that says that a disclosure of personal information is not an unreasonable invasion of a third party's personal privacy if the third party has in writing consented to or requested the disclosure. So this effectively means that council could release staff letters of resignation if approval was provided by the staff member.
Councillor Coulson?
Yes.
Could you stick to generalities in terms of things?
Okay.
Please.
Yeah, it's pretty much done. So I'll stop.
Okay. Anything further?
No.
Okay. Councillor Savage.
Thank you. Yeah, There haven't been any City of Nanaimo Parks and Rec Commission meetings to report on since my last report. The next meeting is this Wednesday, the 26th. Of interest, though, is that the Nanaimo Council recently adopted the Bevan Park Master Plan, the progress of which I've reported on several occasions to the community and to Council. This last 6-month period on this Council has been a challenge, with a continual decline culminating in the resignation of David Scott. Therefore, I think it's time, certainly for me, to do a bit of straight talking whilst I have the floor. Please bear with me while I review a little history. Admittedly, some of the previous Council's early meetings were occasionally chaotic. However, in general, there was a positive and eventually reasonable, respectful atmosphere of that Council. For me, it was rewarding, and it was due to this that I chose to stand for election for a second term. The previous Council didn't have the opportunity to acquire provincial or federal grants for specific projects, so what evolved was that our focus became planning and preparing for the future. We did that in a number of ways. Well, first of all, we resolved the urban gardening conflict, which had been going on for quite some time. We then initiated a citizen satisfaction survey to encourage input from the community. Of significance, after waiting many years, the past Council signed an agreement with the City of Nanaimo for additional water supply. We created, and in my opinion, we revised a much improved memorandum of understanding with the Foothills. We created and adopted the ticketing bylaw. That was in response to the survey. People wanted more enforcement of bylaw infractions. We arranged for the purchase of the new fire truck, created the village core planning through a community working group as directed from the OCP, and we approved the wellfield assessment. There are several other issues that I could go on. These and other activities were accomplished while still contributing to reserves and maintaining a reasonable tax increase. There weren't any personal grievances to the district, and the district was not the subject of any legal action. In my view, the excellent financial position we are in today is due to good fiscal management from councils since incorporation in 2003. However, the previous council has been painted as being negligent in terms of its use of public funds. However, Lanceville continues to have no long-term debt, almost $5 million in reserves, and, in my opinion, the envy of many local governments in terms of its financial position. The recent audit by KPMG confirms the excellent financial position we're in, and much credit goes to our former Director of Finance, Jetta Holm. I'm sure if we were rated like other financial institutions, we'd probably have a AAA rating. The public were told 3 years ago that the previous council, the 2011-14 council, wouldn't achieve anything. Well, how wrong could that be? Given the recent resignations and by-elections now required, in my view, the community have to decide where they want Lanceville to go, either to progress or stagnate. The residents need to ask the current mayor, the current councillors, and new candidates what they see, what's their vision for the future, where do they want to take Lanceville? Do we want the community to improve with a safer and more attractive village core, seniors and other types of housing, improve recreational opportunities for young people? If we do this, then we need to ask direct questions to the current council members and those who are elected. The village core plan, not a construction project, just a plan. The OCP directed for this to be done, was developed by a combined business and resident community with strong community support. But it doesn't appear to be supported by this council, the majority of this council. The water agreement's been challenged in spite of support from the community, recommendations from senior staff and the district lawyer. In my view, the community should ask the reason for the opposition to the water agreement. It's my opinion that the water agreement, the village core initiative, and maybe some others initiatives of the last council could be in jeopardy. The community needs to think about that. I've been in the workforce for over 50 years. Yeah, I'm only 56, by the way. I've been involved in a whole range of committees and boards, and I've sat on a provincial committee. And I'm very sorry to say that this last 6 months of this current council has been one of the worst and most negative experiences of my personal working life and volunteer life. The recent development here, 2 senior staff resignations and now 3 councillors, is unprecedented in BC. Check the facts. The public have been told that there are no concrete facts about why staff or council are concerned. Well, documentation has been provided to this council from the 3 councillors who resigned. But people need to keep in mind that there are much more communication avenues open to the council. Emails, phone calls, chats, discussions, as well as the in-camera meetings, and the public are not party to that. So throughout all these forms of communication, working relationships get developed, and trust and respect is either generated or destroyed. In my view, unfortunately, trust and the fundamental clash of values and ethics is the root of our problems with this council. We have spent much of our time dealing with internal conflicts and dysfunction rather than on governing the business of the community. In my opinion, the function and roles of governance and management have been confused. Staff has been criticised publicly in both the build-up to the November election and since. And the performance of both the staff and the council, and the former council, in my view, is not deserving of the negative comments that's been made in the blog, in blogs, in the log, in other forms of communication to the public. So, in spite of much effort, especially by David Scott, to resolve the fundamental issues, I'm pessimistic about a healthier community council working environment. However, I do hope that for the sake of staff, new councillors in the community, that it changes for the better. It has to change for the better. I personally am not prepared to take the risk, to work under the type of stress that's being created. My trust is gone, and so after much serious thought, very serious thought, self-questioning and discussion with my family and respected individuals, I have decided I'm no longer prepared to be a member of this council. My resignation causes a problem. I fully realise that. I've struggled with this. But I believe it's time for the Provincial Inspector of Municipalities to become involved in remediation, trying to heal this community, put right what's wrong, and particularly for the benefit of the community. Lanceville has to decide what we want for the future. Unfortunately, I will not be a part of that. And with that, I regret I resign from the District Council.
Okay. So, where that effectively leaves us is without quorum, so the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Here we go.
There's no public participation.
Well, you're free to ask questions of council members, but it won't come. Hang on. You are free to ask questions of council members, individual council members, but it will not constitute part of a meeting, as without 4 individuals, the quorum is lost. Oh, bring it on. That's interesting.
Thanks for staying. Thanks for staying, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, you're welcome, John.
Thanks for staying. I wish more had more backbone.
Hi, I'm taking your mic left.
You know, to make a comment, I know there's no meeting. Mr. Savage made a statement about $5 million. And he argued that spending $1,000 on the bike ride. Well, we went and